All right, welcome to Module 3. This video is on user-defined functions. We've already defined what a function is. It's a block of code that is made up of a group of statements that perform a task. Actually, that block of code is called the function definition. The function call is the statement in which is used to invoke a function. Function calls can be made from anywhere in the program. Think about it. When you do printf, as long as you include that library, you can call printf from anywhere within your function. Now, as long as you include prototypes, which describe, they're statements that describe how to use the function, what the function name is, what the inputs are to the function, and what the function returns. So I'm going to, in this video, hopefully you will find these terms much clearer. Function call, function definition, and function prototypes, and how to use them, and how to create them. So let's start here again with these terms. A function call is a statement, a function definition is a block of code, and a function prototype is a statement. All right, so now all the functions are set up the same way. They're set up with a return type and a function name, and then the argument list or the inputs go inside of parentheses. And that's what you pass to the function for the function to do its work, and then that is, and then the return type is what is returned. So we have 4 choices for the return type. A return type of a function could be void, in which case it doesn't return anything. A return type could be int, in which case the function returns an integer. A return or the output of the function or the result of what the function does is an integer. The third type could be double, which means the return or the result of the function is a double. And the fourth choice for return type could be, char. So we're already familiar with these data types, int, double, and char. The only thing we're not familiar with here is void. And these are the different return types. So void just means that the function does a bunch of work, but the output is all completed within the function. It doesn't need to return anything back from the function. All right, the function name, there's always going to be a name of the function. So the printf function's name is printf. The ceil function's name is ceil. The floor function's name is floor. As you're doing user-defined functions, users are going to make up whatever name that the function that they want. For this class, our function names are going to start with a capital letter, and our variable names are going to start with a lowercase letter. So variable names should start with a lowercase letter, and function names should start with a capital letter. That is not required for the language C. That's just the convention we'll be using in this class. Now the argument list, these are the inputs into the function. So the inputs into the function can be any combination. If your function needs 2 integers in order to perform its task, then the inputs would be 2 integers. If your function needs a character and an integer to perform its task, then the function inputs would be a character and an integer. The function needs nothing to perform its task, then here would be blank. So that would mean that this means there's no inputs. It's possible to have a function that takes no inputs and has a void return type, but it's also possible to have a function that takes no inputs and has an integer or a double or a char return type. It just depends on what your goal of your function is, what your function is going to do. So your function could take no inputs, or it could take any combination of characters, integers, and doubles. Or it could take 1 double. Or it could take 2 integers. Again, it depends on what the goal of your function is, what kind of work your function is going to do, and that's how you determine what the inputs are or the argument that you pass to the function. All right, the placement in the program. So the way that functions are set up in the program are they start at the top you have in your code, so you have your header comment. So if this was my code, up here I would have my name, date, and a description of the program. Following that, I would have my preprocessor directives, which we'll just put one for example here, pound include stdio.h. That's a preprocessor directive. Then you would put your function prototypes here. So if, for example, I had a function called add that returned it, the return type was an integer, the name of the function was add, and the function took an integer and a double as its arguments, then this would be my function prototype. And I can have as many function prototypes as I need. So if I had another function, say that had a void return type, the name of the function was result, and that function took a character. So I would just list all of my function prototypes, which is actually the header of my function definition, at the top of my program. Following that, I would have my main function. And in here is the implementation. These are all my statements in my main function with the return 0. And then below that would be my function definitions. This is not a complete program here. This is just meant to show you the placement in the program, but the best way to understand how this should look is to look at code. So now I'm going to, in a moment, after I explain what this program is, we're going to put some code into I'm going to bring up the compiler and we're going to read some code. We're going to read code that does this right here. This is the output of the code that we're going to demonstrate in this video. So what this program does is it draws a circle, then it draws a triangle, and then it draws legs. But in order to draw the triangle is made up of two intersecting. So here's the triangle right here. So this is when this program draws the triangle, first it draws this, and then it draws this. So in order to draw the triangle, it's drawing these intersecting legs in the whole program twice. So you're going to reuse the intersecting legs function twice. So here is the structure chart and these notes, so you can take a little time and take a look at it, but you want to draw a figure, and drawing a figure is made up of, we can go back here and look at it. In order to draw the figure, the complete figure, it's made up of some sub-problems, and you draw a circle for the head. Here you draw the circle for the head. This is the circle for the head. Then you draw the triangle. But in order to draw the triangle, that's made up of drawing the intersect and drawing the base. And then that would make the triangle. And then you draw the intersecting lines for the legs. So when you do all of that and complete it together, you have the head. Then you draw the intersect and the triangle. And then you draw the legs. So this is the code, but I'm going to bring it up in the compiler, and we can look at it in the code. So this just is explains the flow of control, but I think the best way to really understand this is to take a look at the code. And this code is also available on Blackboard, on Canvas. It's called Function Intro. So please take this and put it into your compiler. I've already put it into my compiler here, and we can read the code. All right, so this is called function. I just put it in my same library functions project, but the code on Canvas is called function intro, and the algorithm, number 1, draw a circle, number 2, draw a triangle, which is made up of draw intersect and draw base, and then draw the legs. So let's take a look at the code. So as we go down here, you can see by reading this code that it is set up the way that I told you. At the top, you have your comments. followed by your preprocessor directives, which are right here. Your preprocessor directives is this section here. Then following that, you have your function prototypes. All function prototypes and function definitions should include a comment which describes what they do. So this is the function prototype for draw a circle, and this is the one for draw intersect, and this is the one for draw base, and this is the function prototype for draw triangle. So all the prototypes go up at the top, and then that is followed by your main function. In each program there is only one main function, and the main function is the first function definition. Below the main function you will have your other function definitions. So this is the draw a circle function. This function right here is just a series of printf statements that draws a circle. As you can see, the function takes no arguments and it has a void return type. The function draw intersect also has a void return type. I like to show this one because it shows you how to, because a backslash is a special character in C, this shows you how to actually put a backslash on the screen by putting two of them together. And then this follows draw base, and then draw triangle. You can see how the draw triangle function is making a function call to draw intersect, and so you're reusing the draw intersect function twice. So let's build this and make sure it works, and then we will follow the code and what it's doing. So let's run it. And as you can see, it draws a circle, then it draws the triangle, and then it draws the legs. All right, so I'm going to hit F5 to start the debugger. Now what the debugger does is the debugger allows you to follow the code as it's executing. So if I hit the debugger and then I hit F11, it's going to go here, and there is a video on the debugger, but this is, I just wanted to show you how we can watch the code and what it's doing here. Let's get rid of all of these. We don't need all of this right now. Okay, so now let's watch the code. So we can hit F11 and F10 so we can watch. So like I said before, you have a main function, and the main function tells the program when it starts to execute where to start executing. So you can see this little yellow arrow here shows us that our program is going to start executing at the beginning of the main function. So now if I go here and I hit F11 again, I'm going to get to this draw circle function. This is the function call for the draw circle function. The function prototype is on the top. It's describing what kind of inputs go into the function and what it returns. And now when I get to this statement right here, what's going to happen is it's going to jump out of the main function and down here into the draw circle function. So it's going to come down here to the draw circle function, and then it's going to print onto the screen. If I look at my output window, so I've executed the first printf statement, and it's printed the star onto the screen. As it executes the next printf statement, it'll print the next ones onto the screen. So I'm going to continue to print these onto the screen. And then when it gets done with this draw circle function, this is a block of code. It starts at the beginning of the block of code, finishes at the end of the block of code, and when it's finished, it will then go back to where it came from. So the draw circle function has been called and has been completed, and if I follow along on my output, we have the circle has been drawn. Then the next task now is to draw a triangle. So if I go here and I step into my draw triangle function. Now I've jumped out of the main function and jumped into the draw triangle function. And now the draw triangle function, I'm going to jump out of the draw triangle function and into the draw intersect function. So that's the way that I'm not going to continue to do this. I'm going to stop the debugger, but that's the way that the code works. So if you practice reading the code and following along, you can start here at your main function, and you can realize that it's going to start right here at this first instruction, draw circle. It's going to leave the main function, go down here to draw circle, then it's going to finish drawing the circle. When it's done drawing the circle, it's going to come back here and go to the next function, draw triangle, and then it's going to go out of the main function again into the draw triangle function. When it gets to the draw triangle function, this statement right here is going to take it out of the draw triangle function into draw intersect. So it's a very good idea to really, these are very simple programs. They don't do anything extensive, but it's a building block to learn how to do more extensive programs. And one of the best ways to understand is to read code and look at what's going on. So let's just repeat that the way that the program is set up is that the comment header goes at the top, followed by your preprocessor directives, followed by your function prototypes, followed by your main function, followed by the function definitions. So here's the code here. We have our preprocessor directive. We have our function prototypes right here. We have our function calls that are, some of them are inside of the main function, and then we have our function definitions down here, and also draw triangle calls other functions. So please take a look at that. This code is available for you to see on Canvas, and put in your compiler.